What if everything you have been told about health is incomplete? What if the supplements, the powders, the expensive detox drinks, the $14 cold-pressed juices are not actually the answer? What if the real answer was already written down thousands of years ago, and almost nobody is talking about it? Because here is something most people completely miss. The foods described in biblical scripture were not just symbolic. They were strategic. They were observed, tested, refined across generations, and used to keep people alive in some of the harshest environments on Earth. And now, modern science is doing something interesting. It is running clinical trials, analyzing compounds, studying long-term health outcomes, and arriving at a conclusion that is honestly hard to ignore. Ancient people knew exactly what they were doing. So in this video, we are going to walk through 10 foods that appear directly in biblical text and show you, with real science, why each one is a healing powerhouse that most of the modern world has completely forgotten. And you need to stay with me until the end, because number 4 was so medically powerful that ancient Egyptians used it in over 20 different medical preparations. And number 9 was given as a luxury gift during a famine. Not gold, not silver, but food. And when you understand what it does inside your body, especially to your heart, you will understand why. But before we begin, if you are tired of trying everything and still not feeling your best, drop a comment below and type reset. I want to see who is ready to start thinking differently about their health. Now, let's get into it. There is something we need to understand first. The ancient world did not have laboratories, no microscopes, no chemical analysis, no randomized controlled trials. But they had something else: time, observation, and consequence. If a food made people stronger, it stayed. If it made people weaker, it disappeared. There was no marketing, no influencers, no packaging, only results. And over hundreds, sometimes thousands of years, patterns began to emerge. Certain foods were eaten daily. Certain foods were used medicinally. Certain foods were treated as valuable enough to trade, to gift, even to symbolize spiritual truths. What we are about to go through is not just a list of healthy foods. It is a system that modern science is now slowly rediscovering, one study at a time. Let's start here, because this one is massively underestimated. Dates. In the ancient Middle East, the date palm was not just another tree, it was survival. Think about this for a second. You are crossing desert terrain, no refrigeration, limited water, long distances. What do you carry? Not fragile fruit, not cooked meals. You carry something that can survive heat, last for months, and still give your body exactly what it needs. That was dates. They are calorie-dense, naturally sweet, and incredibly stable. But here is where it gets interesting. Dates are not just sugar. They contain magnesium, potassium, copper, manganese, and B vitamins, all packed into something you can hold in your hand. And unlike refined sugar, the fiber inside dates slows down absorption. So instead of a spike and a crash, you get sustained energy. Now here is something most people don't know. Modern clinical studies have actually looked at dates and pregnancy, and what they found is remarkable. Women who consumed dates in the final weeks of pregnancy experienced shorter labor durations and better cervical dilation outcomes. Think about that. Ancient midwives were recommending dates long before science could explain why. They were not guessing. They were observing patterns and passing down what worked. Even the pits, the part most people throw away today, were ground into powder and used in traditional medicine for gut-related infections. Nothing was wasted. Traditional use is simple: 3 to 5 dates before physical activity, a natural sweetener in meals, or used to break a fast, which is exactly why they are still used to end fasting during Ramadan. Because after hours without food, your body does not want a shock. It wants something gentle, something effective, and that is exactly what dates provide. This is not a trend. This is a survival food, with thousands of years of proof behind it. Number 9, pistachios, the nut worthy of a king. Now this one, most people overlook completely. There is a moment in Genesis that almost nobody pays attention to. During a severe famine, a man is sending his sons to negotiate for food in Egypt. This is a life or death situation. And what does he send with them? Gifts. But not random gifts, carefully chosen ones. And among them, pistachios. Think about that. In a time of scarcity, when survival is on the line, he chooses pistachios as something valuable enough to present to a ruler. That tells you everything. This was not a snack. This was high-value nutrition. Now fast forward to today. Modern research has taken a closer look at pistachios, and what it found is fascinating. They are one of the richest sources of lutein and zeaxanthin, two compounds that specifically protect your eyes. These are the same compounds that defend against age-related vision loss. But that is just the beginning. Pistachios are also loaded with potassium, which helps regulate blood pressure. And their protein profile is surprisingly complete for a plant food. But the real surprise? What they do to your gut. Studies show that pistachios increase beneficial gut bacteria, especially strains linked to digestion and immune health. Before anyone understood what a microbiome even was, this was already part of the diet. And here is something even more interesting. Not all the fat in pistachios gets absorbed. Some of it passes through digestion and feeds your gut bacteria instead, which means you get the benefit without the full calorie impact. That is rare. Traditional use was simple. Eat them raw, lightly roasted, ground into pastes, or pressed into oil. But the key idea is this. They were not eaten occasionally. They were valued and used intentionally. And when you look at both history and science, you start to understand why. If you are still watching at this point, comment ancient below. I want to know who is really paying attention, because what we are about to get into next starts to go even deeper. Barley is not glamorous, it never was. In the ancient world, it was the food of soldiers, sailors, and laborers, the people who worked long hours, under pressure, with no room for weakness. And when you read the story of 5,000 people being fed with loaves and fish, those loaves were not made from luxury grain, they were made from barley, the bread of the everyday person. Now here is where things get interesting, because modern science has taken a serious look at barley, and what it found completely changes how you see this simple grain. Barley contains one of the highest concentrations of a fiber called beta-glucan, found in any grain on Earth. And this is not just another nutrient. This is clinically powerful. When you eat barley, beta-glucan forms a thick gel inside your digestive system. And that gel does something remarkable. It slows down how quickly sugar enters your bloodstream, flattening blood sugar spikes. It binds to LDL cholesterol and helps remove it from the body. And it feeds beneficial gut bacteria, strengthening your digestive system from the inside out. In fact, clinical comparisons have shown that barley often outperforms oats, which are already considered one of the healthiest grains. Think about that. A grain that has been around for over 10,000 years, grown in harsh conditions, eaten by ordinary people, is quietly one of the most powerful cardiovascular foods ever studied. Traditional use was simple. Cooked whole as porridge, ground into bread, added into soups and stews, nothing fancy, but incredibly effective. And sometimes, the foods that look the simplest are the ones doing the most work. Number 7. Pomegranate, the fruit that symbolized life and protects it. In ancient Israel, pomegranates were everywhere. They were carved into temple pillars, woven into priestly garments. 200 of them decorated the structure of Solomon's temple alone. That level of symbolism was not random. It meant something. The pomegranate represented life, abundance, and vitality. Now fast forward to modern research. Scientists have identified compounds in pomegranates that are almost unmatched in nature. One of them is converted in your body into molecules called urolithins, and these compounds are now being studied for their ability to support cellular health, reduce inflammation, and even protect mitochondria, the energy centers of your cells. Clinical trials have shown that regular consumption of pomegranate can lower blood pressure, reduce inflammation markers, and improve arterial flexibility. In simple terms, it helps your blood vessels function better. And when your blood vessels function better, everything improves: your heart, your brain, your energy levels. But here is something most people miss. The rind, the part almost everyone throws away, contains even higher concentrations of medicinal compounds than the seeds themselves. Traditional healers used it as a tea for gut issues, infections, and inflammation. The modern world throws it away. The ancient world used the whole fruit, and that difference matters more than you think. Number 6. Garlic, the food people cried for. There is a moment in scripture that is almost emotional. People are wandering in the wilderness, and they begin to complain, not about danger, not about the journey, about food. And what do they say they miss? Garlic. They missed it so much, they wept. Now, at first glance, that sounds dramatic, until you understand what garlic actually does inside the body. When garlic is crushed, it creates a compound called allicin. And allicin is one of the most powerful natural antimicrobials ever studied. It has been shown to fight bacteria, viruses, fungi, and parasites. Not one category, multiple, which is exactly why it is so effective. because pathogens struggle to adapt to something that attacks on multiple fronts. Studies have also shown that garlic can lower blood pressure, reduce cholesterol, and support immune function. But here is the key detail that most people get wrong. Heat destroys allicin, which means raw garlic is far more powerful medicinally than cooked garlic. The ancient world used both, cooked for flavor, raw for healing, and once you understand that, their reaction makes sense. They were not just missing taste, they were missing something that made them feel stronger, healthier, more resilient. Number 5, figs. The prescription that saved a king. There is a moment that most people read past too quickly. A king is dying, not metaphorically, physically, and instead of just prayer, a treatment is given. A compress, made from figs, applied directly to the wound, and the king recovers. Now, for a long time, this was seen as symbolic, until modern analysis revealed something surprising. Figs contain enzymes that help break down damaged tissue. They also contain antimicrobial compounds that help prevent infection. Which means that ancient remedy had a real biological effect, not guesswork, not coincidence, function. Internally, figs are just as powerful. They are packed with fiber, minerals, and compounds that support gut health. Fresh figs for immediate nutrition, dried figs for long-term storage, and even the natural latex from the fruit has been studied for its ability to support skin healing. Once again, what looks simple is anything but. Number 4. Onions, the food that built empires. Now this one changes everything. Onions were not just eaten, they were used as payment. Workers who built massive structures, including the pyramids, were paid in onions and garlic. Think about that. Not rewarded, paid. That means this was not optional nutrition. This was essential. Now here is why. Onions are one of the richest sources of a compound called quercetin. Quercetin has powerful anti-inflammatory effects, helps regulate blood pressure, and supports immune response. But that is only part of the story. Onions are also loaded with prebiotic fibers, and these fibers feed the good bacteria in your gut. Not all bacteria, the beneficial ones. The ones that influence digestion, immunity, even mood. Before anyone understood what gut health even meant, this was already part of daily eating. And here is the deeper pattern. Garlic, onions, leeks, all from the same family, all rich in these compounds, all used daily. This was not random. This was a system designed by observation. And what comes next might be the most powerful natural antimicrobial ever discovered. Number 3. Raw honey. The food that never dies. Honey has been referenced again and again and again. As strength, as nourishment, as healing. And for good reason. Raw honey is one of the only natural substances that can kill antibiotic-resistant bacteria. It works through multiple mechanisms. It produces hydrogen peroxide. It creates an environment where bacteria cannot survive, and it contains compounds that actively destroy pathogens. Hospitals today use specific types of honey in wound care, not alternative medicine, standard protocol. But here is the part that most people completely miss. It has to be raw. Once honey is heated, filtered, over-processed, it loses much of what makes it powerful. The honey used in ancient times was alive. And here is something almost unbelievable. Jars of honey thousands of years old have been found still preserved, still usable. No other food does that. Number 2. Almonds, the daily defense system. Almonds were not just eaten. They were symbolic, used in sacred design, connected to awakening, new beginnings. But beyond symbolism, they are one of the most nutrient-dense foods on Earth. Rich in vitamin E, which protects your cells from oxidative damage. High in magnesium, which supports hundreds of processes in your body, and clinically shown to improve cholesterol levels, blood sugar control, and gut health. But here is what makes them powerful. Consistency. They were eaten daily, not occasionally. And that daily input creates long-term results. Number 1. Olive oil. The most complete ancient medicine. There is a reason this is number 1. Olive oil appears over and over again. Used to anoint kings, heal wounds, fuel lamps, it was everywhere, and modern science has confirmed why. Extra virgin olive oil contains compounds that reduce inflammation, in a way similar to common pain medications, but without the side effects. It supports heart health, brain function, and long-term disease prevention. But here is the key difference. Quality matters. The oil used in ancient times was fresh, cold-pressed, unprocessed, not diluted, not overheated, and that difference changes everything. Here is what all of this points to. The ancient world was not primitive. It was observant. People paid attention to what worked and built their lives around it. Modern science is not discovering these truths, it is confirming them. So here is the challenge. Pick 2 foods from this list. Just 2. Use them consistently for the next 30 days, not as supplements, as food, and pay attention. Because the gap between what heals you and what is convenient has never been wider. If this opened your eyes, drop a comment and tell me which food surprised you the most. And if you want more content like this, hit subscribe. Because the next video goes even deeper, and you do not want to miss it.